Focus with Kudzie Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast.
22 minutes before 8 o'clock it is our time. Good morning and welcome to Business Focus. Right here on the Champions League Breakfast on Capitalk. We are live on our Facebook page. Capitalk 100.4 FM, Harare's Heartbeat. Business Focus with Kudzie Sharara. As always, you've got questions to do with business. Feel free to drop them up on our Facebook page as well. Capitalk 100.4 FM, Harare's Heartbeat. Or you can also drop them up on our WhatsApp platform 0719 100404. Good morning to you, Kudzie. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Tinashe. Good morning, Pakistan, and good morning, everyone.
Great. Let's begin with the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, the updates.
Yeah, the ZDC, as you know, it has been doing quite well in terms of the gains and the capital gains that we have been seeing on the market. But I think yesterday there was a bit of a slowdown when you look at the gains that were recorded with the all-share index adding just 0.83%. We have been used to 0.7%, 0.9% since the beginning of the year, but just 0.83% on the all-share index. That's yesterday. You look at the top 10 index, it didn't do much well as well, up by just 0.62%. And you look at top risers, GP Holdings was the biggest mover there with a 48.13% gain. You know, those circuit breakers have since been removed. You know, last year we would see companies were only allowed to go up by just a limited 15%, but the smaller companies are now allowed to go by as much as investors want. So GP was the top riser yesterday with a 48.13% gain. Edgar's also doing well since the beginning of the year, up by 15% yesterday. So Edgar's is actually the second top riser since the beginning of the year, and I think we have spoken about it to say we now have a new shareholders in Edgar's. We now have a new executives in Edgar's. I saw yesterday former CFI executive Chester Mteve now having moved to Edgar's. So new developments there at Edgar's, and I think some investors are taking their position in that counter, hoping that the new shareholders will do their magic like they have done with their other companies, your Inscos and National Foods of this world, where they are reportedly common shareholders. Also on the upside was Sitco up by 15%. Hopefully, with the rains that we are seeing at the moment, it looks like farmers are still planting. I think today, if I'm not mistaken, is the last day of planting, and probably a few farmers are also getting to buy their seeds, and Sitco is one of those. Riozim also positive, up by 12.5%, despite the news that the gold sector failed to meet its target. You know, they targeted that they will produce about 35 tons last year in 2023, but we failed to meet that target. I think we did about just above 30 tons as a country. So that's in terms of gold production, and Riozim as a counter there. Pro Plastics also positive by 3.7%. However, on the downside, we had First Mutual Property down by a massive 58.93% drop, and then also have Mashonaland Holdings, another property company, down by 2.96%, and then Econet and BAT also concluding the top 4 losers. There were only 4 losers yesterday. And then in terms of funds invested, most investors put their money in Econet. It wasn't much as well, just about 477 million going into Econet, and then EcoCash also getting a sizable chunk of the funds that were invested. So that's the update on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange.
Okay, you've got questions on Business Focus. Drop them up on our WhatsApp platform 0719 100404. Kudzie is right here. So let's get into a lot of things that has been making headlines. Yes.
Yeah, well, I don't know the development, but some of the developments anyway. When you look at, because I think the small scale miners, that's where we had the challenges. And when, I think it started at the beginning of the year, last year, during the rain season. When it's raining, they don't have enough equipment to drain the water, so they are not able to go underground to be able to do their work. That's number one. Number two, remember that there was a shift from small scale gold miners being paid 100% in US dollars. Now they're being paid part of it in local dollars. And again, you see deliveries to Fidelity gold refiners also being reduced. So they might be mining as much gold as before, but there are leakages that will be taking place. So that's the other reason why we could have had less gold production. The big mine houses also complained sometime in the year, again in terms of electricity supply. Again, that will affect gold production.
So Kudzie, obviously there is a lot that has been happening, and what is the latest that we've got when it comes to issues of the government tax measures that they were introduced from the 1st of January 2024?
Yes, so we saw the government measures being introduced, and then we saw that there was an outcry which resulted in government and the business sector rather engaging government in terms of the disruptions to the trade channels that they were seeing, the price increases that they were seeing. And I think we saw yesterday, we spoke about it, saying that CZI had issued a moratorium, well, not a moratorium, but a statement to say that they'd agreed to have a moratorium with government, to say the measures that were introduced in January were going to be put aside and it will be back to December settings. That's the statement that was issued by CZI. Only for government yesterday to issue a statement through Treasury to say they do not issue such statements, moratoriums, through third parties. So
that's nullifying everything that was said.
Well, in a way, saying what was said by CZI to say we are going to set aside the measures.
But remember, you pointed it out yesterday.
Yes, I did.
It was very difficult for government to say they are going to be listening to all this.
Yes, I said government will have to wait for government in Zimra to say something before anyone can try and implement these measures, because I know in the past that has happened before. So yeah, this is what government has said. I think it was the last part of the statement where they said, look, we do not issue statements through third parties. Now, anyway, let's move to what government has done in terms of trying to listen.
Are there even changes though?
Yes, there are changes. Okay. So let's start with the route to market. So what government has said, okay, remember that they had said that only wholesalers will buy from manufacturers, but they have since said, okay, retailers are now allowed to go straight to the manufacturer. The schools are also, hospitals as well, they are now allowed to go straight to the manufacturers. However, they must have obtained a valid tax clearance certificate, as well as they must be VAT registered. So you can go to the manufacturer, but you have to have that tax compliance certificate. You must also be value added tax registered. So this is now the new measure. Yes,
pane zvimwe zvinhu zvokuti hazvikwanisi kuenda kuwholesale zvichibva kuna manufacturer. Vazviexempta here zvinhu izvozvo, because chingwa chikaenda kuwholesale chinogara mazuva mangani chisati chasvika kwandiri.
Because probably the nearest wholesale pandinogara iko kunotenga chingwa chacho.
So for perishables like bread, for example, meat. But especially bread, that's the one that they highlighted. They say for bread and other perishables, they can actually you can go straight to the retailer. In fact, the manufacturer has been given they've been allowed to distribute themselves. So marori chingwa yatanchingoona kumarena, they will continue as ngomandio. So they've been allowed to do that. So that's number one. And then in terms of what is going to happen in terms of tax collection, remember that what the government wanted was to increase or to widen their tax base, and that has so what has been said is that if somebody comes to a manufacturer, if somebody comes to a producer of products, if they do not have a tax clearance certificate, if they are not registered for VAT, the manufacturer must now withhold 5% tax. So everybody who is going to be buying from a manufacturer is now going to be paying tax. Remember that patisana yengoenda kuna manufacturer ndinoda kuhodha zvinhu zvangu ongobhadhara exactly kanzi chiri $4 otongobhadhara $4, but now ari kunzi no, pa$4 ipapo the manufacturer must withhold 5% withholding tax.
Saka zviri kuratidza kuti government haisi kuda kuti iende kumwenakawo kwazvinotangira chaiko haisi kuti akufanira kuendwa nemunhu wese
as long as usiri registered for tax. Kana usiri, in fact, if you are not registered for tax, you can still go, but remember kuti wakunobatirwa 5%. you have to can usually $4 maybe open up but there are $5 on top, which means that there is now a bit of fair competition. I would say a bit of fair competition because my big retailers, for example, they would go to the manufacturer, purchase their products, and then when they then have to pay VAT, and they also had to pay their corporate tax. But someone on a tax shop ain't going to order no tax whatsoever, no corporate tax, no what. But now, 5%. Now you have to consult your tax expert to say, where am I better suited to be registered? Ndozobhadhara ya corporate tax here kana kuti ndingobatirwa hangu 5% withholding tax. Ndozvazvakudependa manje kuti uri kuda zvipi ndezvipi, what best suits you. So this is what has been said by government with regards the route to market. Yes, but for wholesalers. For wholesalers, the government didn't mention anything, which means that my restrictions are $1,000. $20 they are likely to be still there because they were not mentioned in this new fine-tuning of the measures that has been done by government. And again, let me state this. Government is saying we'll fine-tune, right? They've said how they are going to fine-tune, but it's not yet, they've not yet changed anything in terms of the Finance Act. So whether it will be done through a statutory instrument, whether they will have to go back to Parliament, I don't know. But from my experience,
pane question here to Hans Haikudzi. What if I am selling products not liable for VAT like pharmacies? Do we need to register for VAT?
No, I don't think so, because again, part of my products, remember, part of my basic products, I include VAT, like bread and things like that. They've since been zero rated again. You don't have to pay. Nyama luxury. So it's still nyama is still per standard rating. Meat is still at standard rating, so it means that you still have to pay your 15% tax on products like meat. Yes.
Going back recently. Pane nyika isina informal sector here, because ndikutoona zvese zvoda kungosungira informal sector.
So you see the level of the informal sector patisari ndo inozota kuti mimwe mitemo inge ichiintroduced. Kune imwe nyika ine informal sector, but informal sector versus formal sector, maybe informal sector constitutes 5%, 10% of the economy. And in this but the Zimbabwean economy say informal sector constitutes above 70% of the economy. So it's like you have got 70% of the business world. Yet not the informal sector actually not paying tax. I did it. But once was informal sector. So informal sector and that's good. So there's a difference between a small business. I did it. It could be a small business, but it's compliant. I did it with the laws of the country. You said a small business is still compliant. Don't on the informal sector because their operations are not formal. They are not formalized in terms of the law.
So Kudzie. So now what it means is now 15% VAT plus 5%. You tax so total becomes 20%. Is that so?
No, not really, because there are two separate issues. It on certain products. Remember, even what I'm going to buy that VAT and this, but I'm going to buy that not zones corporate tax on contribute or whatever, or deducting VAT on behalf of government, whatever and this. But I'm going to buy that corporate tax after what my profits were by business, what my profit 100,000. I'm going to buy that 25%. Corporate tax of your profits. But vamwe vasingabhadhara even akata maprofits akaita sei anga asingatorei that corporate tax ndo vari kunzi ivavavo they have to be withholding tax ye 5%.
But kudzini ndodombonzwisa handi pane mamwe products abviswa ari kunzi aya tamabvisa apa neari kunzi anofana kunge aripo. Inini ndapinda muwholesale ndoda kutenga zvinhu ndine tax clearance yangu o handina ndatenga mamwe products are included, mamwe are excluded. How is my invoice going to come out?
Invoice really in a system in panotopancha paya chinotomudza this one is zero rated, this one 15% VAT. Hazvina problem. Ukatotasa marisits ako unotozviona imbocheka marisits ako unotozviona kuti ichi chakanzi VAT ichi hachinanzi VAT.
I'm still thinking maybe dzangu pfungwa ishoma kuti ndononoka kubata nyama is a luxury.
Well, according to this, it has to pay tax. Whether you call it a luxury or not a luxury, you have to pay a VAT on meat.
I think yesterday there was a Treasury communique regarding taxation changes any positive impact to the price increases we have witnessed in the recent past?
Yes, some products like bread, for example, is no longer is now exempt from VAT. That's bread. I'm trying to look. Okay, so there's bread, milk, cooking oil, meal, salt, sugar, flour. They are now exempt from the VAT and I introduced on these products here, which means chingwa takatona chikwira ma price and ma bread producers vangu vatotumira vachitoti chingwa chedu recommended retail price vamwe vachiti $12 vamwe vachiti $8, right? Now they have to reduce those prices because they've been told kuti it's now exempt. However, this is a statement. Act ishiripo. So you need to.
Which one overrides the other? Is it the statement or the act?
It's the act, because even panapa, Pariku government steps that will be taken as a consequence of the consultation. Though steps that will be. It's like so as of today, if I'm to trade, I have to charge VAT because that's my understanding.
Kudzie, another question on our WhatsApp platform. Hi Kudzie, can you explain withholding tax? Are they saying if the price is $4 inclusive of VAT, for withholding tax we're saying I pay $4 plus 5%, meaning my price will be $4.02?
Yes, your price will have to. Yes, we have, because manufacturer would need to $4. But you you must contribute a withholding tax to government. Sessions withholding tax because Varuti Tinashe was registered, which means the hospital batara tax, Sakatato Garataku Batira Nas, Pauto Hotas in Panapa, to Batira 5% tax, each end up government. So yes, that's
Sagamuna, what's is it
the consumer?
The consumer deals or what's eventually.
It now depends on we are better withholding tax. $4 plus that 5% addition. Zvakutipenda nekuti manufacturer ari kuona kuti chinhu chake chikazoita $4.05 chinotenga here handisi anogona kuti aini ndichabhadhara on behalf of my customers, maybe anga agara achitokurovai pasi petsoka kudhara profit yake iri very high aine 20% margin, anogona kuredusa margin yake yoita let's say maybe 18% or whatever margin or reducer so that he can accommodate this payment of the tax. Zvakutipenda necompetition manje because patinotengesa inini ndakagadzira kepi yakapfekwa napatisani handiri indogona kuiti $10 handiri ndichiti profit yangu $5 as a manufacturer, profit yangu $5 handiri cost yangu yaita $5 ndotengesa $10. But iwewe tinasho kagadzira same cap unogona kuti no inini ndiri kuitengesa $6 ndiringoda dollar as profit. Saka zvinozosiyana nokuti manufacturer ada kuita sei depending.
But apa Kudzie, and like example that was given by one of our listeners to say eventually the product will become $4.02. Inini ndiri kuenda kunotenga ndichapedza ndakungonzi na shop tailor andina change.
Change yatovemwe imwe issue inenge yakuzonetsa, but that's not subject to discussion. The fiscal authority avanene kuti muchazowana change here kana hamuna change here zvakwamuri izvozvo kuti uchapiwa $0 here
chabhadhara chete
wega une $20 zvokuti zvechange yatove imwe nyaya.
Mumarubvunza panapa Kudzie ati hanzi inini samanufacturer, how do I withhold 5% from informal traders?
Ndoenda kutaura kuti kana informal trader auya kwauri wewe samanufacturer oti ndira kuorder zvinhu zve-1000 handizvo unomuzwa kuti sha inini zvinhu zvangu zvikuita 1000 but kuti ndikutengesere chiisa 5% on top ichazoenda kugovernment handizvo. That's my understanding. 5% on top ichazoenda kugovernment because ndikangomucharger inini ndandagara ndichicharger 4000 ndikangomucharger 4,000 government ichayoti wakatengesera tinashe asiri tax registered asiri VAT registered tinoda 5% yedu saka ichatorwa pa 4,000 yako saka yotogara waita se watochaja more to accommodate that.
Pane institutions that you pointed out are exempted from all this in terms they are allowed to go direct to the manufacturer.
Yes,
schools, hospitals, hotels, yes. I think.
Hotels
right?
as well, they are included.
Vane limit area vanokwanira vanonzi you have got a limit of this much to go and buy from the manufacturer, because I'm thinking ndogona ungowirirana naheadmaster pachikoro pemwana wanga ndomuti ende munondihodhera omari pamunonoodha zvinhu zvechikoro mobva mandoodhira because there are loopholes. Are we not going to have those loopholes coming around now?
Look,
how are we going if we don't have a cap of what is needed for the exempted institutions to do from the manufacturer?
Look, you can't tell. For example, I'll tell you the school where my daughter is at. Last year, they over the years they only had 2 classes Zema Form 1, and I'm going to 2 classes Zema Form 1. But now they have got 3 classes. Even akaweka order achiti 3 classes, ungamurambira sei? Ungamurambira kuti ano makuresa ya maimine 2 classes saka mimi muno order chingwa chakati or whatever they were buying from you. Saka overambira. But ivo vatowedzera saka you can't tell. Saka vanodaita uchitsotsi vanongoita uchitsotsi chavo antiwo vabatwa hapana kutamba.
Okay, another question here on Anzi. Okay, all right. Let me look. Okay, will bread price go down if raw materials such as cooking oil and flour are VAT standard rated?
That would be my thinking. But you never know with the producers. You never know with the producers. It's up to them. But it's a competitive environment. That's why we not want to run out. It's very competitive because we've got I think 3 or 4 large bread producers. So it depends on where they want to put their prices. Even nezuro pepe patakataura kuti issue new prices. Mune mumwe angakati changu chakuita $12 cents retail price. Mumwe bhari changu chakuita $8 cents. So already a competition on prices. So it depends with the... Yeah.
Lastly and quickly, because time is running out, Kudzie, it's parity cover. It means there is need to update our systems to accommodate this 5%. I assume the 5% is calculated after VAT.
But so with we can achieve VAT, yes. But now don't tax expense now.
Do we need to update systems or we need to have systems set?
But my systems are not going to update. I'm going to punch my numbers. I think it shouldn't be difficult.
All right, this has been a business focus right here on the Champions League breakfast on Capital. Thank you so much, Kudzie. We'll speak more of business tomorrow same time at 7:35 right here on Capital.
Thank you, tonight.